What up, sunshine? Hi. I'm very happy right now. As you can see, I've got my little bundle of joy here, and he wanted to say hi. He didn't really want to say hi. He probably just wants to eat or maybe poop. But if he knew better, he would want to say hi. So we're just going to pretend that he wanted to say hi. So he's half asleep and half awake or whatever, but there you go. Oh, his head's all wobbly. I realize you can't see him because you're looking at yourself. Wow, that's your Uncle Sunshine. Don't worry, in like a year when we move back to Vegas, you'll see him all the time. I was robed, Kelsey. Alright. Let me get you back in your comfy position. He very much enjoys sleeping in my arms. Although he's doing like the little thing. So, it's about ready time for him to eat pretty soon, I think. But I'm going to enjoy hanging out with him as long as I can until he really starts wanting to eat. Because sometimes he just wants to sleep in my arms, and it's awesome. So being a father is awesome. I kind of want to go back to some of the older videos that I had talked about before concerning some of my fears and stuff, because those are all gone. Being a father kind of feels like one of the most natural things ever. It feels right, feels good. I just want to stare at him all day long. I love him. I had to go to work today. I took 3 days off. Went back to work today. It was very hard because I just wanted to come home and hang out with him. Oh, it's almost time, isn't it? I better go drop him off. Oh, good yawn. Good yawn. Alright, he is breastfeeding as we speak. I think I told you this story. Oh, I don't really remember that day. I know we talked, but I don't remember how much I told you or whatever. But, yeah, 6 hours. She was at work that morning, and her water broke. So she calls me at like 6. So I start getting everything ready. She comes home. But her contractions were still kind of far apart. Like 15 minutes apart. So we thought, we have some time, we'll wait. So we waited for about 2 hours here, finishing up, kind of getting everything ready, so that way we weren't like scrambling around. We kind of took our time packing everything up. Get to the hospital, they check us out and confirm that, you know, she was like 5 centimeters dilated, and, you know, the baby's coming today. So we were like, crazy. So what happened? So then we were in that first room for like 4 hours, which that was so boring. Then we get moved into the actual delivery room, which apparently it's full moon or something the night before, so there was like 20 other babies. Luckily we got there in the beginning. There was only like 3 or 4 babies ahead of us. But throughout the night there had been a lot, and there was a little bit of a break, and we got there. So they said that some people were delivering in the first room, which wasn't as comfy and stuff. So luckily we got into a delivery room. They checked, and she was at 7 centimeters, and they said it'd take about a couple hours. So I was like, is it okay if I run down to get something to eat? Like, do I have time? They're like, yeah, you have about 2 hours. So I run down, get something to eat, come back up like probably 20 minutes later, and she was just like, I think it's time to push. And I was like, really? So we called the nurse, and she comes in and check, and her contractions at this point were kind of starting to hurt. So she called and asked for thank you, IV pain medication. So then the nurse went to go get that, and that's when Kelsey told me she feels like it's time to push. The nurse comes back with the IV medication, and she tells her that, and she's like, let me check. And she checks, and sure enough, she is ready to give birth. So couldn't do the IV medication, so she puts that down, calls the other nurses in, and they're like scrambling around because they all thought that they still had like a couple hours till Kelsey was ready. So the actual delivering doctor, she didn't even have like her scrubs on yet. She was like checking Kelsey, then was like, all right, push, push, push. And then like in between pushes, she like ran and put on her scrubs and then came back in. I mean, she was in the room, but then came back. Yeah, dude, watched the whole thing. At first, I was like, I'm not gonna look, I'm not gonna look, I'm not gonna look. But then I was like, I feel fine. Like, I'm gonna risk it. So I was looking up in the mirror and like just looked a little bit. Totally felt fine, so I risked it a little bit more. And then eventually was just watching. Like, I didn't like go head first. I was still up by Kelsey's shoulder, but you could see everything. So I watched the whole thing happen. You could see his little head of hair, and it was awesome. His head of hair caused just a little bit of friction, so they had to like lube up his head. But then his head popped out, and then I think 1 or 2 more pushes later, the whole thing came out, which was weird. And then, but I didn't get grossed out at all. I didn't even feel the slightest bit, you know, dizzy or anything. And as you know, I told you, I was like, I never even wanted to cut the cord. I never wanted to see him until he was cleaned up and stuff. But that is not true. They wanted me to cut the cord, and I was like, yes. It took me 2 cuts. I don't know why, but I cut, and then it was like, so then I cut again, and it finished. But anyway, cut the cord, which I never thought I would, which is such a cool feeling. And then I like stood there while he was all dirty, and watched them clean him up, like right next to it, because they were like, you can go watch him. So I just watched that thing while Kelsey delivered her little placenta, which also wasn't that gross. I mean, it just kind of looked like a cow's liver that you buy at a store. Well, it didn't gross me out. So we are a baby making team. I don't pass out, and I support her, and she pops the babies out in like 6 hours without pain medication. They were like saying that Kelsey was the best that one nurse said that's probably the best that she's ever seen in her like 5 years working there, because Kelsey in between contractions was like making jokes and like smiling and like kind of trying to talk to the people. I mean, when she was pushing, but between that, you know, she was like kind of hanging out and stuff. So they were just like shocked at how kind of fast everything was going and how calm Kelsey was and everything. So it was awesome. And then Clark comes out. Well, when he came out, we had a couple of different names. And then he was getting cleaned up, and I was standing over there. I looked back at Kelsey, and we both kind of like nodded, and I mouthed the word Clark, and she said, yeah. So we were like, yeah, he looks like a Clark. So that's when we fully decided on Clark. Although that one was kind of winning anyway, but it was fully decided on Clark. So it's been really exciting. Obviously, I've gotten more sleep than Kelsey has, but I'm still, every time I like sit down in my chair, I pass out. Kelsey, crazy how she's still going. She's on like 8 hours sleep for the last like 4 days. So I don't know how she's still going, but I think it's a mom thing. But yeah, everything's going well. Everything's going great. Yep. Also, I'm sure you probably saw this, but did you get a chance to watch my vampire movie, Unit 256, of which I'm sure you saw it, but if not, I'll tell you anyway. The film festival was that day, the Action Movie Film Festival, and obviously I couldn't go because I was having a baby, but found out that I won Best Actor out of all 22 films at this film festival. So I'm an award-winning actor, and Brandon accepted the award for me and told everyone, and they filmed it, told everyone that I was having a baby, so everyone cheers and hoops and hollers and stuff. But it's up on our Unbroken Dial page, so you should go take a look at that. Alright, well, I think that's about it for me. I wanted to say hi. Next week I have off all next week, so probably chat. Maybe I'll call you. Maybe we'll Skype or something. But I'd like to hang out with you next week sometime. Cool. We'll figure it out. Let me know this Friday in your video what kind of free days or free times or free anything you have next week. I think next week is when school starts, but let me know if you got some free time, you know, in the middle of the day on your lunch break or something like that, and we'll hang out and stuff. Okay, bye.